Hi guys, Jack Spirko here. Nothing to do with preparedness today at all. This is kind of a look into my personal life with my fish tanks, and I just kind of wanted to give you guys an overview of all my fish tanks. And when I talk about on the show what I'm talking about, this tank I've actually shown on video before. This tank is mainly features angelfish and some plants, and I'm actually really hoping I get an opportunity soon to possibly move all of this to a much bigger tank out in our dining room. Which would be great for guests to be able to look at and for me to be able to look at and get an opportunity to re-aquascape this tank, because that border back there that looks like plants and the gravel, I've got other things that I want to do now, and if you look down there, that's kind of why. I just think it looks so much better. Anyway, I've really fallen for the black substrate, black background, and then doing everything with natural plants and wood. Anyway, I just want to show you, there's a plant here called Valsneria. Last time I did this, a lot of people were asking about the plants. That's this grass-like stuff here. This is Amazon sword. It's starting to perk up. It didn't look too happy because of the condition of the tank. Let's say for a long time while it was in there and the only thing in there. I wasn't really running this as a planted tank at that point. This stuff back here kind of looks like coontail or what have you. This is called Mbuna. I got this plant from Nick Ferguson, and it's beginning to reproduce, and it's quite a lovely plant. And you can see a bunch of little ones coming off it down there. And I'm going to be doing a lot with that plant because it's fast growing. This is, I can't remember the right name for it. Water wisteria is what they call it. And you see the leaves kind of look funky, and that's because Nick grows his plants with CO2 injection, and I use an all-natural tank with no injection. So they'll grow good in here. They'll just have a different leaf form, and that is kind of switching over now. And every other place I have it planted, it's doing the same thing. Hey angels, they want to get fed. That's what they're up to. But I've been playing with this plant and kind of pruning it like a bonsai tree. You can see how I've got it. It's got the roots hanging down, and it needs another little trim on the top. But what I've been doing is just keeping it to a certain height, and it just keeps getting thicker and thicker in that canopy. And I'm playing with it to see what I can do. A little more Valsneria there. This is a little plant here called Rotala indica. Yeah, indica like that, but it's not what it is, right? Rotala indica, and I really like this plant. This plant has grown a lot since Nick gave it to me. A lot of new stems coming off, and I've been propagating it other places, and I'm about ready to probably take that little clump of 3 that Molly's in the way of there off and move it elsewhere. So this is my tank. Got some Java moss in there. This wood is called manzanito. It basically means little apple. I got that from a guy off eBay. Some Anubias. It's another underwater plant on some manzanito there, and that's pretty much where this tank's at. I'm running over the back filter with what are they called, bio rings, and a sponge filter there run by an Ahim 200 pump. Is running both of these. Let's go down here. This is a brand new tank, just planted, just set up. It's got a lot of time to get settled in yet, but it's already starting to look really cool. This is also a 55-gallon tank like the one above, and to give you an idea how well, I mean, I know my plants don't look that great, but every plant in this tank, and this plant was planted like 2 weeks ago, came from this tank. So I basically pushed this one back to harvest plants from it to bring down to here. So that's why you'll see pretty much they're all the same plants. So that little Rotala indica there in the corner, some Anubias and some Java fern and what have you. And I am taking a different tact with this tank. Most people, once you get a tank, 40, 50 gallons or bigger, people want big fish. I will never have any fish in here larger than the species that are already in here, and I'm going to have a bunch of fish. My goal is to get all of this Java moss to eventually cover all these rock formations. This is called lace rock. It's a type of volcanic rock, and I picked this out of a bin. I had the guy's bin. We had like 100 pieces of it, and I had them all laid out to pick the ones that I wanted. He sells it by the pound. And this black substrate I just think sets things off. And the black background, as those plants come in, it gives a sense of depth. These are guppies. Let's see, there's some cherry barbs, and they will be a lot redder in time. They're still pretty young yet. That was a cobra guppy. Those little guys there are white cloud, longfin white clouds, neon tetras, and then some guys that just got here. I mean, they just got here. I'm waiting for some other stuff in the mail today. But those are celestial pearl danios. This is a fish that we didn't even know existed until 2006. Comes out of Myanmar. And now lots of them in the pet trade. They'll only get about twice as big as they are now. And you can see they are really tiny. They are beautiful, though. They look like little brook trout once they color up. And then there's another fish in here called the chili rasbora. There's one right there, that itty bitty guy. There's a dozen of them in here, and they pretty much just disappear into these plants and rocks right now. Again, those fish have only been in the tank for a couple hours. But if you look, this tank, for only being a couple weeks old, is really starting to come into its own. And I'm really excited about this plant, this Valsnaria, also known as jungle val, this grass-looking stuff. Once that gets established, about once a week, or maybe once every 3 days, it sends out a runner and a new plant, and then that one sends out. And so I'm going to have this, again, all of this came out of up here, and it took a step back to go forward. But instead of having to buy all these plants, which would be, a couple $100, I was able to just propagate them out of my existing tank. A little trick there, you set Anubias, that's this guy right here. Basically what I do with that's a piece of lava rock like you put in a grill or for landscaping. You can see how it kind of just really merges in with the lace rock because they're pretty much the same rock. I super glued that Anubias to that piece of volcanic rock and then just kind of wedged it into that piece of lace rock there to help, develop. And when you're doing these tanks like this with these little fish, what the goal is to eventually get this green enough. This looks like a mountainous valley, and your fish look like birds flying through the valley. Kind of cool, huh? Yeah, there's our little pearl danios. And those white cloud minnows there are small. I mean, they'd be hard to get on a fish hook for bait. So it gives you an idea how small these little pearl danios are. They'll get about twice the size they are now, but not quite. But boy, will they color up. I'll put a link in the video notes for you where you can see what these guys look like once they color up. Again, to me, they look like beautiful little brook trout. And let's move on. And I showed you before I've been working with shrimp. Let me show you the construction project that's been going on. So that's a 40 breeder up there. We'll talk about that in a second. We got 2 shrimp tanks. And I got room down below here for 2 to 4 more shrimp tanks. And these I've been working on breeding these, and I've been starting to get some real results with them. We'll see if anybody wants to come out and play when I get up closer to them. But it looks like a lot of wasted space. It's really not, because you have to be able to work on the tanks. So these are magnetic panels. And they give me enough room to come in here and do tank maintenance without hating my life. My long-term plan is these lights are going to go up inside there out of the way completely so that I have even more room to work on them. And then I'll be able to push these 2 tanks together so they're like one tank and that gap isn't in there. I'm not really pleased with that aesthetically. Right here, I have these grass shrimp right here. And these are supposed to be incredibly difficult to breed in aquariums. I think, based on what I'm seeing at night right now, I may have successfully done it. We will see. But this is what this is really all about here. These are neocardina shrimp, aka cherry shrimp, and you can see why there as one bails over. Anyway, they're just a beautiful little dwarf shrimp. There goes another one there. Last night when I fed them, man, I had a good 20-30 babies all up in these weeds and all down in here hanging out. But as you can see, I did aquascape it with lava rock. So there's tons of hiding places for all my shrimps. And that one right there, I can't tell by looking on camera. I think she might be buried. They get eggs right up underneath their back end there. That's definitely a female though. You can see how she's kind of thick right through here. And so those are my grass shrimp, Mississippi grass shrimp, and my cherry shrimp. They will not crossbreed. If they ever do, I'm rich, I guess, if that ever happens. But I just don't think that's going to happen. A little cholla wood, Java moss, etc. And over here, very similar, except I went with black lava rock, which I like better. Both of these tanks, the backs are painted black. All this negative space really makes all the aquascaping pop. But these are Fantasy Blue Dreams. And it looks like everybody's hiding and no one wants to come out and play. I'll do another video soon for you of the shrimp. What I'll do, there's one there. You can see him back there. What I'll do is I'll not feed them for a couple days. And then I'll feed them up front here. And when you do that, everybody comes out. It's a good way to get a head count. So that's what's going on with the blue, guys. And then these are Malaysian trumpet snails. This is water lettuce. And the shrimp just love it. They love to hang up in there. You see them up there at night. You come here at night, turn the lights on, you see them all come flying down to hide. But I use this in my outdoor ponds. So now I have these tanks as a way to overwinter my water lettuce, and I only need a few pieces in the spring to put it back out there, and I'm back in business. And you know, in just a month, I got a whole pond covered in my water lettuce. So, amino moss balls, and I'm running nothing in these except sponge filters. The shrimp love to work these filters for me, keep them all nice and clean. I got one pump running this sponge filter, that sponge filter, and another one up here in cichlid land. And there is my Afra Jarlo Reef. I was hoping he'd come out for you. A lot of people want to do saltwater fish. In my opinion, African cichlids, especially Mbuna Cichlids, really kind of stand up there on their own with saltwater as far as beautiful. I've got some more of these guys coming today. And it's been a little bit of a struggle. I'm starting to get my Valsnaria established in here. These guys won't eat it. They'll eat some plants on you, but they like to reconstruct and move stuff around. So what they will do occasionally is pull these out. Once they're fully and heavily rooted, it stops. But right now, every once in a while, I come in and one of them's floating up here in the top. But I've been fighting with that. I'm going to move over here a second. And I'm going to get some cichlid pellets out. If I'd have been thinking, I would have done this in advance. If we feed them, we'll get everybody to come out for you and show how pretty they are. So that's a White Tail Acie right there. He's pretty cool. There's that Afra Jarlo Reef. That's the guy with the orange fin on his back. And you notice an incredible abundance of these electric yellows is what they're called. Well, actually, you want to see that girl right there? That is the female mated up with him. They have not successfully bred yet. I haven't seen her holding fry in her mouth. They're mouth breeders. But when they do breed, what you should do, and that's one of my breeding females right there, you should basically take them out and get them to cough up all the fry and separate the fry so none of them get eaten by their brothers and sisters. But you can see those electric yellows, they're so prolific that even with it, I don't do anything. I just, every once in a while, I see new babies in here. You know, you look and you'll see little eyes sticking out here. But yeah, these guys like to rearrange stuff. And I don't know what they did with it. There it is. So this tank actually came from down here. This tank sprung a leak. I had the cichlids in it, and I moved them up into this 4 breeder, and I redid this tank in my little nano fish tank. And so that was a gravel bottom. And when I got these stones out, apparently one of these stones, I didn't get all the gravel out. There's a piece of gravel in it. So the night that I set it up, I found that piece of gravel here, and they just keep moving it around. And I was going to take it out, and I thought, you know what? We'll leave it in there and see how many different places they put it. But their name actually means rockfish. And you can see why. They love little rocks, love little caves. Everybody's going to hide there. But my hope is to get this Valsnaria just thick through here. So you can imagine once that's done, you know, what it's going to look like. Down here, the way I designed this, I can either do 2 more 10s, just like that. I can do a 30 breeder down there, which is the same size as this tank, but it's just shorter. It's 12 inches instead of 18 inches tall. I could fit one of those in there, but then I won't have enough room to, you know, I'll hate my life trying to work on the tank, and you're not sliding 40 gallons of water out like that. The other thing I can do, though, instead of doing 2 10s, is I can actually do 4 10s down there. It's long enough this way, depth-wise, these tanks can turn and you'd only have the ends looking at you. It's a lot more space conscious, but it won't look as cool. But for breeding purposes, that gives me a lot more options. And that's probably what I'm going to do. And then I could do kind of a hybrid on the thing. I could do 1 of them this way and 2 of them vertical. So I'm not sure which way I'm going to do that yet. But this, I'm going to come over here, and it's still a mess from all the work that I've done. But this is where I sit every day and do my podcast. And I think you can see why I like fish. You know, I cover a lot of stuff that is not really fun stuff to talk about. A lot of heavy stuff, a lot of economic issues. And when you can sit here and check out these little worlds, you know, guys, things just don't seem so bad. And the one thing about fish And since they have their own little world, that's their whole world right there. They don't really care what's going on. They don't care what's on Fox News. They don't care what's on CNN. They don't care who gets elected. They don't care about nothing. Now, we can't be that way all the time, but if we don't take a break once in a while and kind of overload and dive the #1 killer in the world, stress. It's hard to be stressed when you're looking at all this beauty. And, you know, the plant person in me loves propagating plants whether they're above or below water. And I just think it is awesome to be able to create, manage, and build your own little worlds. That's part of why I am the fish geek. And here's Mr. Jealous. Are you jealous of the fish, buddy? Huh? Yeah? Yeah? Okay. Yeah, he gets jealous of the fish when I sit here on the floor and look at him. He wants to be part of the action, but I have a feeling long term, this is going to be one of my favorite tanks that I've ever built. It's just going to be beautiful, and going with all the different tiny varieties of fish makes things really interesting. Shrimp will be going in this tank too. As my colonies breed over there, they'll breed more than I can ever use, so I'll be taking out different color ones, putting them in here. Some of their babies will get eaten by the fish, some of them will survive, but I have my tanks over there for breeding. This will just be for aesthetics and beauty. And I got some other varieties of shrimp coming. And there's Dorothy's favorite fish out of all the stuff we have. That cobra guppy right there, he's kind of cool. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed it. We'll catch you later. Every morning we get to say hello to Charlie's Angels. Bye now.